so if it's real or fake. Golden Greek told us the giant goon Dickoff, El Toro, the grunt brothers too. The wild Samoans got something crazy going. They're gonna be going after you. Wrestling tonight. Everything is bigger than life. Wrestling tonight. Rock and roll and wrestling tonight. Flying drop kick, suplex, mail, stomping on the throat, pulling on the hair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Tonight. I am your host, Mad Dog Butch. With me, as always, the Tiger Conway Jr. to my Shaska Watley, none
Nice.
other than Brace Beemer.
Yeah, go green, go white. Go Spartans, go Sparty. Party on. Sparty on.
What's that mean?
Sparty on.
What's all that mean?
Oh, for the Michigan State Spartans are in the NCAA
Yeah, I know.
Final
I know.
Four. Oh, okay.
I do know that.
I figured you were just asking so I could tell everybody else what's going on.
No, but that's fine. One actually coming up this weekend, this Sunday, is WrestleMania. But bigger news than that I saw and I shared is the Terry Taylor Red Rooster Mattel action figure coming out this Thursday.
That thing looks so exact.
I know. I bought the TNA version. I think Jax was doing them at the time.
Oh, really?
Just
They
to
had
have
one?
a Terry Taylor. They didn't do a Red Rooster. They just had the regular Terry Taylor. So I don't know. I may have to switch the head on it later, but yeah, they did a fantastic job for that.
Yeah, you sent me a picture. It looked awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, back in the day, I would have killed for like a LJN Red Rooster. That would have been awesome. If they would have put out a Red Rooster and a Steve Lombardi. I remember having a dream when I was a kid that they came out with the LJN Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh, really?
He was like awesome. Yeah.
Hey, I noticed
But,
on our page we don't have the live feed going for video. I'm assuming we have audio, so we're having some technical difficulties here. If you happen to be listening and you're just seeing the mugshot or studio
all right,
shot.
let me check into it here. But anyway, yeah, WrestleMania coming up this weekend. If we have time, we will discuss it. But if not, we are just waiting for our special guest this week, who's going to be the creature feature, John Campbell, and he's going to call in a few minutes. So let me see.
Yeah, one of the good guys out there in the local wrestling scene.
Yeah.
Quite a talent.
Yes.
And it'll be a fun
Definitely.
interview.
Yeah, definitely. Always fun, always entertaining. Let's see here. Here we go. All right, looks like he's calling in right now. Still no. Hello. Hello. Oops. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you now.
All right, now we can hear you. That was my fault. Creature feature, John Campbell. How are you?
Yes, sir. Good. Your feed is working. There was like a video that you guys had posted that wasn't working, and it was just a stationary picture. But then a new live feed started, at least on my end, and you guys are working just fine now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you for the info because we were scrambling here for a second.
Yeah, no, all good. Until I get on here, and then it becomes a train wreck. So, just keep that in mind. It's going to go off the rails any minute.
No. You know better than that. Well, I'm gonna get right into it. Normally, whenever we have a guest on here, we always ask how they got into wrestling in the first place. Is there anything that stands out for you as far as when you were a kid? Any angle or any wrestler that you saw that eventually, well, I mean, that got you hooked on wrestling?
It actually, it all kind of coincides with each other. So I've always been a wrestling fan. I don't remember the first time I actually saw wrestling. I know it's just always been a part of my life. It's always been something that's there. I know I had some cousins that really liked wrestling, and so whenever I'd go over to their house, they'd always have it on, and then that's how I got hooked on it. So I mean, I'm talking like from the age of 3 on.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just something that I never ever really grew out of, and so because of that, later on in life, I as I was developing, my tastes in, not just wrestling, but pop culture, things like that. As you get older, sometimes your tastes evolve. And so right as I was hitting, like, those 11, 12, 13, kind of age, ECW came in on TV where I lived. And so I saw that. And, when you see ECW compared to, like, WWF, WCW, a lot of the ECW guys, they kind of look like regular people. And so it kind of clicked in my brain, like, man, I don't much look like Lex Luger, but, I could pull off like a Tommy Dreamer, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, it kind of evolved into like, it's something I like, but maybe I'll never be able to do, to like something like, oh man, maybe I can do this. And so from ECW now, I started getting into the independents. I started, just doing a lot of tape trading and things like that online. And, from there, I started going to local independents where I met the guy who would become my trainer, went to his wrestling school, and then just started wrestling after that. So, like, literally everything kind of evolved from, that first time, like, really seeing wrestling and being, hooked on wrestling all the way up to where I'm at now.
Hey, John, this is Brace Beemer. Hey, you mentioned, ECW. Well, you didn't mention, we're talking about ECW, and you brought up something that I think I never really thought of, that style and just the way people looked, like they could just be the normal ham and egger out of the crowd. Do you think that spawned a lot of people to try to get into pro wrestling, and maybe they wouldn't have before? I mean, because you kind of...
I think maybe, definitely not taking away from, the athleticism of a lot of those guys, because even the guys who, quote unquote, look like normal people, they were definitely athletes for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, to put your body through all of that. But I think maybe not so much that. Maybe I kind of correlated a lot to, when people, start getting into things like punk rock or like independent movies, where it's like, it's not this big blockbuster, like, it's not this major label band, but, these are guys who, maybe started playing in their garage, or maybe started, filming things, with their own video camera, and it kind of evolved into that. And I really think a lot of people maybe took it that way, where it's like, you don't have to be a certain way. You can be yourself and still make a go of it and make a good run of it. I think maybe a lot of people took it that way. At least that's how I took it that way. I didn't see like these guys and go, oh, that guy's like an, out of shape schlub. I can do that. I kind of took it as like, hey, these guys, they're not like Lex Luger, but they're
Right.
still doing these larger than life things. Maybe I can do these larger than life things too.
Yeah, and
That
that's
makes
kind of what I was thinking with that question. It's just that you don't see the comic book looking, cut and chiseled, or a 500-pound monster, where you're seeing people of different sizes, different shapes, different techniques, and then it just kind of I think it got a lot of people into it.
Yeah, I definitely,
Absolutely.
I definitely kicked myself for not pursuing it once ECW came out, because I kind of looked at it the same way. Like, I was like, man, I'm never gonna. I mean, obviously the guys in the '80s, and especially when you're a kid, come off like these giant monsters, and just something that you don't think you're going to be able to live up to. So when ECW came out, which was only like, a few years after I graduated high school, but I don't know if you know, well, you probably remember, there was that guy, I think his name was Paul Loria. They called him the Little Giant. Do you remember that guy?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, okay. He wasn't around very long, but I think he might have feuded. Excuse me. He might have been a tag team with Mikey Whipwreck in the beginning. But I mean, even Mikey was another guy that I was like, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you see like, Mikey Whipwreck, and I keep using him as an example, but I mean, like, really nobody was, just in that kind of shape, back then. Like you take a Mikey Whipwreck, and then you take a guy like Lex Luger, like a Davey Boy Smith, or, even like a Hulk Hogan, you know what I mean? Completely opposite sides of the spectrum. And you look at Mikey Whipwreck, and it's like, man, that dude, that looks like somebody I know. That looks like somebody that I would hang out with. That looks like my friend, my buddy Ryan. I always joke with him because he reminds me a lot of Mikey Whipwreck. He trained with us, years and years ago. And, we always kept pushing, oh, man, you're going to be the next Mikey. And he's like, oh, thanks. So, yeah, I'm just here to get beat up every week. That's fun. So,
hey, I remember when they finally made, like, the Mikey Whipwreck video of just him getting destroyed to the Beck song "Loser."
Yeah.
And then he ends up winning. I think he won, like, I don't know, the TV title from Pitbull or whatever.
Yeah, he just fell on him.
Yeah, but that got him over huge. I mean, I remember like watching that video, and like a friend of mine was there who was not really a wrestling fan watching it with me, and he was just amazed by the ass kicking that Mikey used to take. But and so it's kind of like that, and then again, especially, as like later on, in my later teen years when I actually started going to local independent shows, you know what I mean, and a lot of these guys were just average Joe who did it like on the weekends, you know what I mean, like the Weekend Warriors,
it was. Yeah, and then I got a rude awakening because I used to be like 400 pounds. I used to be really, really big. And so I was just completely out of shape. But I'm like, I'm like 400 pounds. I can do this. You know what I mean? Big Show's like 500 pounds, but Big Show's like a athletic 500 pounds. And I used to just sit around and eat Keats all day.
How big were you?
You could have been the next mass transit.
Yeah. I probably would have ended up like mass transit too. I'm surprised I haven't. I have a big mouth, but So, and that was another thing too. Like we talk about, you have to, these guys looking like average Joe, but then I, really figured out quick, like you have to be in shape to do this. Like, I couldn't do it. So before I even went to wrestling school, I lost like a good, I lost over 100 pounds. I was 360 at my heaviest.
Wow.
My lowest.
Yeah, I have seen some pictures of you on Facebook from before that. I don't think you were, by the time I met you, you were not that big anymore.
No. I lost, like, this was like, I lost weight when I was like 18. So like my lowest, I was like 210, but then I looked like I was sick. Like people kept asking me if I was gonna die and stuff like that. I have some really nice friends.
Jesus.
Yeah, my friends are really cool. They're like, oh man, do you have like cancer or something? Like, is there something you need to tell us? Like, no, guys, I'm just trying to get in shape. And I guess I did it wrong because now I look like Giant Baba. Remember Giant Baba, how he looked?
Oh yeah,
I looked like that. Yeah, I looked like Giant Baba, but not as cool and tall. I looked weird.
That's a quality reference. Giant Baba, that's more up our alley on this show. We're a little more old school.
There you go.
Hey, okay, so let me ask you, before you actually went to wrestling school, you did you do the backyard wrestling? I mean, that's kind of what, and we've talked about this on the show before. That's kind of what we did, and at the time, we had no idea that anybody else was doing it, and we actually did it with the people that kind of became the face of backyard wrestling later on, the Insane Clown Posse. So, you know, I think they kind of made it more mainstream. Was that already like a thing when you started doing that? And what was the name of your league, if you had one?
Let me tell you something. And I mean, I guess depending on who you ask, I'm still a backyard wrestler. That's neither here nor there. From like 2004 to 2000, like early 2007, me and my friends, we had a backyard wrestling organization. We called it KWO, Chaos Wrestling Organization. You can tell it was like the early 2000s because we spelled chaos with a K, because that's the cool thing to do, right?
Very extreme and edgy there. Yes.
Yeah, very, very edgy we were. And let me tell you, man, those were some of the best times I ever had with my friends. And and this is like years and years ago. Like we still talk about, you know, some of the just dumb, crazy, you know, because this was also like the Jackass era of times too. So, you know, we had a lot of just really stupid stuff going on, just stupid teenager stuff. But we still talk about like how we're lucky none of us like died or anything like that. And a lot of us from that went on to be, you know, trained professional wrestlers. Like, it's so weird because, you know, things come full circle. Like, there's guys on, you know, the MWO roster, the IWE roster, and just all throughout like the Michigan independents that I first met in my garage because we backyard wrestled. Like, I could name so many. Benjamin Brody, you know, he went and trained with Lance Storm up in Calgary. We first met because of backyard wrestling. He wrestles as Jack Taryn in MWO. He wrestles as Nick Baker up here at IWE.
Yeah.
We met because of backyard wrestling.
So he actually used to wrestle with you back in the day in your garage?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So many of them. Nick Van Coor, who wrestles for IWE, we went to the same school. Cody Kelly, who used to wrestle for IWE and like all over the independents with me before I quit / got kicked out. You know, they, you know, just all these people, like, we, you know, you name them. Well, maybe not you name them. That's too much of a broad stroke. You name them, they were in my garage. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let me tell you, we packed at least like 15 people in there. They were hanging from the rafters.
Hey,
but no, just a lot of them. It's really cool and amazing to see like how many people like actually moved on.
So those guys were not all like local guys around you then, or were they?
No,
I mean,
no, they would travel. Like they would travel because they had their own group down in like some of them were in Pontiac, some of them were like in Detroit, some of them were in like the Standish area, if you know where that's at.
Yeah, sure.
And
so
like, we would all like travel to each other and just do these shows.
How were you guys aware of each other back then? Were you on a public access station or something, or just all like online?
We were on a public access station around here, and then a lot of us met just through the internet. You know, it was very primitive back then. Like, YouTube really wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
But there was different like message boards where people would post like their clips and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And but yeah, no, we had a weekly show. So we would get together and we would tape once a month. We very much ran it like a lot of independent groups run shows these days.
Okay.
Where we would have a taping every month, and we would take like 2 or 3 matches from that taping and put it on, and that would, you know, that plus like interviews and vignettes and stuff like that, that would make the hourly show.
Oh, okay.
And we would do that every month, and we would tape enough to do weekly TV. And then by the time we like ran out of footage, it'd be time to get together and tape for the next time. So.
Oh, okay. So how long did you say that you did your league?
I really want to say from like '04 to like, actually from '04 to like '06, because '06 is when I got like started legit. It's when I
Okay.
when I left the backyard behind.
So how did you? Because this is probably right around the era that I met you, because we started doing the television shows for the Michigan Wrestling Organization at Oakland University, and
This is actually I only, like, it was weird. I like wrestled maybe like 4 or 5 shows for MWO, like right when they started at Oakland University. And this is when I was like just fresh, like these are some of like my first ever matches. And
Oh, okay.
so I don't think we met back then, because I only did one show at the Oakland University.
we
And it didn't even make air.
Well,
It
that's
was
what I
like a
was.
dark
That's what I was
match.
gonna say. We did meet, but I remember you showed up and asked Jason if it was possible to have a match, and I think he gave you. I think he told you that you could have like a pre-show match or whatever. And
Yeah.
so, but I think that match does exist. Not that anybody would. I mean, nothing against it. I don't remember, but I don't know if it was something that you'd want people to watch.
Awful. It was like four guys fresh out of wrestling school who just did, like, we knew what we were doing, but really didn't know what we were doing, because who really does know what they're doing? Like, when
Right.
you're having like your first couple of matches and stuff like that. And then, of course, there was like the politics. It was like, oh, hey, we heard you were wrestling for NWO. Don't wrestle there anymore, because, that's how wrestling is around here.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to like get away from that and say, like, this is for me to have fun. And when you tell me not to wrestle somewhere, that's not having fun.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't know. I'm a natural anti. I'm a natural nonconformist. So
Right.
like when people tell me not to do something, it really attracts me to like do it more.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. So like we came in, we started being involved with the MWO around the Terry's Lounge days, and I don't think you were there yet.
I wrestled. I wrestled I wrestled 4 matches total at Terry's Lounge.
Okay. So then when did you kind of what were you doing in that time period? Just wrestling all around before you kind of came back to the MWO?
Just wrestling everywhere. But I have a funny sidebar about Terry's Lounge. It's funny. Again, this is just the people that you meet and the people who go on and do, like, some really cool stuff. One of the people that I brought with me to Terry's Lounge and I had a pre-show match with, because again, Jason really didn't know me, and he was very leery about letting like outside, people from outside of MWO like on his shows, as he should,
I know
because he doesn't know me from anybody else. I could go in the ring and drop myself or somebody else on their neck and kill them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But one of the people that I brought, and again, weird how people meet like this. He was actually from Texas. It was his first ever professional match. We met backyard wrestling in like 2004. And he was from Texas. So, so it was strange. He flew himself up to like wrestle in my garage. It was insane.
Okay.
But in between that and when I brought him to Terry's Lounge, he actually trained at FCW under Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, really?
And and it's funny because when I brought him into Terry's Lounge, and This is before smartphones, and I have another kind of I get off on tangents, so I apologize. You just
No,
have to bear
please,
with me.
please.
My mind is like a maze, but we'll eventually get to the finish line.
No. I'm glad. I'm glad. Keep it going.
So I brought him into Terry's Lounge, and this is before like smartphones and stuff like that, where you could easily like look stuff up. I'm like, oh yeah, this is my buddy Lee. He trained at FCW under Ricky Steamboat, and I could tell Jason because I know him now.
Yeah.
He looked at me. I don't want to cuss on this, but he looked at me like, dude, you're full of crap. Like, he didn't say it, but you could
Right.
see it in his eyes.
Right.
And
Well,
like, if smartphones were a thing back then, like I could easily pull it up. It's kind of like Benjamin Brody when he finished wrestling at or when he finished training at the Storm Wrestling Academy. He's right there on the class picture, like on the front page. But of course, smartphones aren't a thing. So I brought him around to like these independents, and like these stupid idiots. I don't want to name their names. I don't want to put them over. But these stupid just idiots. Like kicked him out of the locker room. They're like, "Oh, you're a effing liar!" Like they got in this. There was almost a fight.
really?
So they kicked him out of the locker room thinking he was lying and untrained and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, since I was the one who brought him, I got the blame. And when I was in the ring, they like cut up my jeans and did a whole bunch of stuff.
Wow.
Wrestlers are stupid. But
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
no,
just
so,
be
like,
lucky you weren't doing a king gimmick and had a crown back there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But anywho, yeah, so it's one of those things like, man, if only smartphones were a thing in like the mid 2000s where like you could go online and like, show these, not Jason, I don't think Jason's an idiot, but like more so the other guys, show these idiots like just how dumb they're being. You know what I mean? Like,
So the guy that you're talking about, did he continue to wrestle? Do you want to mention who he is? Did he go on to?
oh yeah, Lee Caswell was his wrestling name. His real name Andrew Lee. He wrestled for a while until he got injured, and then he went into the military.
Oh, okay, all right.
He might come back. I'd like to see him come back because he was really good. But yeah, he got hurt too much. Not that he was injury prone, but just one of those things. Like you can land wrong on like the most basic thing.
Oh
and
yeah.
just, mess yourself up. And I think it was something like that where like you hurt his back or his neck or something like that.
All right. I'm just gonna jump ahead just a tad, and we'll go back. But the deal with Jason now that you're promoting, can you see maybe like where he's coming from? Do you get a lot of guys coming to you with BS stories?
Yeah, and I've been guilty of that. I've put guys in the ring, giving them a chance, taking them at their word when I really shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more that was a long time ago now though.
Okay.
Well, maybe not a long time ago, but that was like a few years ago now, and it's just one of those things like you don't really know until you know. And I'm sure every promoter, you name it, has put guys in the ring, Vince McMahon included.
I was just gonna say, didn't he get burned by? I mean, probably other ones, but the one that sticks out of my mind is Outback Jack. I remember hearing a story that he had oversold himself quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, not even that. Look at the guy, the poor guy who, took that rocker dropper wrong from like Marty Jannetty and ended up paralyzed. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
right.
And all the interviews and stuff that he's done, he's said like, I just showed up. I had no wrestling training. I had no experience, and they put me in the ring. You know what I mean? And
right.
So yeah, like you get guys who will oversell themselves to you, and and then they get in the ring and kind of crap the bed, so to speak, and
right.
It just isn't there. But I think every promoter's been guilty of that. But no, I can definitely see where where Jason comes from on a lot of things. You know, and it is. It's just one of those things, like, you know, you don't know until you know, and
Right. Yeah.
that's really just it. You know, now I'm a lot more careful, though. I don't, you know, and I say and I really keep hating to say because it's not just me who runs IWE. You
Right.
know, we have.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, it's you know, we're definitely more careful with who we put in the ring. You know, we need to see footage, we need references, like you know, Luke Crank, you know, he works with IWE. He has a promotion down in the Detroit area. He has a school down there too.
Yeah. Hey, can I stop you?
If he well, I was gonna say, if he recommends a guy, you know, I know he's good. So
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah, because I'm definitely going to get to the modern era, but I just wanted to go back. So I hadn't seen you probably since those OU tapings up until we probably started doing the MWO tapings at the actual studio, and at by that point you were doing the Gentleman John Campbell gimmick.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, it was a group of us. It was myself, Cody Kelly, and Nick Van Core. You know, two guys who broke into the business with me at the same time. And you know, so because we broke in together, we would often ride together and get booked together. And we were you know, talking about, you know, different gimmicks, and you know, the general rule of life is it's easier to get people to hate you than it is to get people to like you, you know, and that's
Right.
you know, not just wrestling, that's real life. And so, you know, so we're like, okay, you know, it'll be easier to be a heel. You know, what don't people like? So we started, you know, just bouncing ideas off.
And Canadians was number one.
Well, yeah, you know, kind of. It was more or less like we were talking about like foreigners. You know what I mean? Like, it's real easy for, you know, like American-centric people to hate people from other countries who say that their country is better. You know, that's just human nature.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's
Right.
like
Germans
that
are like
in
that.
other countries.
Everybody is.
Oh, well, I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
you know,
and that's Pro Wrestling 101 too.
Oh yeah, well, that's life 101. That's why
Right.
we've been in so many wars. That's, you know, that's why people get bombed every day. But to make it a little less depressing, and so we're talking about, well, you know, I really don't want to be German. I'm already bald, and I think people will take that the wrong way. And so we settled on Canadians because, you know, we're all pasty white, and you know, so we looked the part there. And I had the nickname The Gentleman already. It was just a fluke. It was like, that was like my name on MySpace or something, Gentleman John.
Okay.
And so yeah, and so when I started getting booked places, people just called me that because they assumed that was my gimmick.
Oh. Okay.
And so so I just took it and ran with it. And
Wait,
so that's kind of how that evolved.
was there any Gentleman Chris Adams and Gentleman John Campbell, or was that completely separate?
No, I didn't get it from Chris Adams. It was basically just, it was a complete fluke because, like I said, it was just my name on MySpace, because you could, like, you know, change your names and put nicknames up there and stuff like that. And a friend of mine, she called me oh, you're such a gentleman, John. And I, you know, so I changed like my name to that, like, just as a joke. And, you know, there it was. But I mean, I really admire Chris Adams' work. I didn't rip him off.
Right.
You know, I wasn't out there super kicking people. I can't kick that high.
I was just kind of wondering if you, like, you know, maybe if you were a fan of his before you came up with that, but I had a name.
Yeah,
before
no, I was a fan. I was a
way.
fan of his, but it wasn't. I was definitely a fan of his because I love World Class, and that was one of my favorite territories. Him and Gino Hernandez, which I think if Gino hadn't died, people would talk about him in the same light as they do like Ric Flair as one of the, you know, best of all time. But Yeah, no, I was a fan, but it wasn't inspired by that
Cool.
at all.
Okay, so so we got to watch kind of a slow change, a somewhat slow progression into a different character, which eventually became the creature feature that you are now. And I will say, when you started doing this, I thought, okay, he is embracing more of his true personality. You know, the little that I knew of you at the time. Now what kind of sparked that? You changing up the gimmick there.
There's a few things. Without going into details, I'll give you kind of the abridged version of it, because again, I can go off on tangents
It's
with
fine.
all the-
We
you know.
got plenty of time.
Yeah, but I have brain damage, so it could take all night. So long story short, like the Canadian Hit Squad thing that we were doing, because it you know, had many different forms. Like the two guys who you know, we started it with, they were kind of in and out and things like that. But as my career went on, you know, certain individuals had more of an influence over me and what I could and could not do.
Okay.
And so it eventually turned into something that was like somewhat something that I came up with, to something that was like completely not what I came up with.
Okay.
And so it basically turned into, you know, just me taking on a role and playing a role for someone else who wanted it. And then I broke away from those people in like 2013-ish.
Okay.
And so it was almost like like a clean slate, if you will. You know what
All
I mean? Because if you look at my career, it's very weird. I had a lot, like I said, I had a lot of people pulling me a lot of different ways. And it was one of those things like, you know, I can break away from all of this and just strike out on my own and just be myself and be, you know, again, a natural nonconformist. Or I can keep playing the game and, you know, who knows, you know. And I mean, really, who knows? Maybe it would have, you know, whatever could have turned out for the better, because back then I was getting all the press, and, you know, I was getting, you know, Pro Wrestling Illustrated was writing about me, like, it seemed like every month. You know, I was getting a lot of coverage and stuff like that. But, you know, you can't really coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's like, do I want that and not be happy, or do I want to do something else and, you know, rest my head, you know, at night comfortably?
No.
And I chose the latter, you know, and I know I'm being very cryptic here, you know, and it's not like
That's okay.
You know,
But do you feel? So you definitely feel more comfortable nowadays doing what you're doing now.
yeah, because it's mine. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
it's
that's what I was
something
thinking.
that it's my, you know, it's when you create something and it's yours and it's no one else's, no one else can lay claim to it. You know, it's almost like a piece of clay. You can mold it to however you want it to be.
Right.
You know, so you're like an artist in that way. Whereas, like, you know, the other way, it's like you have the piece of clay, but, you know, the other person's telling you how to mold and shape this.
Okay. Now we mentioned a couple names. Now around that era, you got a chance to wrestle some of the bigger names in wrestling. Do you want to run through those for us real quick? And also give us any memory that you might have of the particular match that you had with these different guys.
I'll say that I was very blessed. You know, like I said, around that time, even though it was not something that I had created, it was something that was, you know, being shaped by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I was put into, you know, these really awesome positions to where, like, you know, I could learn and I could, you know, have these, you know, big moments. And so when I was, it all correlates. Like I said, you know, it's a maze, but we'll get to the finish line, because I'd be hard pressed if I didn't, like, you know, tell the story of how these things led up to each other.
Sure.
So there was a promotion that I was working for down in Indiana called NWWA, New Wave Wrestling Alliance.
Okay.
And they had a working agreement with another promotion up here in Michigan, the one that I, you know, went to through their training school, UWE. And so what they would do is they would run shows on either Friday, and UWE would run shows on Saturday, or they would do Saturday and Sunday. But basically, they'd do shows back to back. And what they do is they'd split the cost on a name. So
Okay.
they would, so they would split the cost on, like, the flight and the hotel and this, that, and the other. And so what we would do is we would drive down there on, like, you know, day one, pick the name up, and then drive them up here for the show the next day.
Okay.
So, I mean, literally, it was like, you know, 4 to 6 hours in the car with guys like Ken Kennedy, with guys like Billy Gunn, with guys like Road Dogg, with guys like Al Snow, with, you know, all these big name guys.
Yeah.
You know, and gals, because I was able to, you know, do the same thing with, like, ODB and Tracy Brooks, and, you know, this story for another time, but I actually shared a hotel room with them one time. And,
Excellent.
but I slept on the floor. But,
You don't have to shatter
you know,
my
so-
fantasy.
Why would you want to take their place? No, I'm kidding. But, no, it was, so I built up a rapport with these people. So, you know, they would see me, you know, at these shows, you know, oh yeah, you know, this is John, you know, we rode from, you know, Indiana up to Michigan, you know, great guy, you know, this, that, and the other. So they finally felt comfortable enough with me to be in the ring with me. And
Okay.
so, you know, through that, I got to wrestle Al Snow, who I learned so much from. You know, just, you know, spent, God, I want to say 8 hours that day just, you know, talking to him and picking his brain and everything like that. You know, it was me and him in the locker room. You know, he had,
Okay.
you know, he didn't have his own private locker room or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but he kind of had, like, his own section. And he's like, you know, hey, kid, come sit with me and we'll talk, you know what I mean? And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just a really great dude.
Sitting under the learning
you know,
tree.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh, what was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said sitting under the learning tree. That's what.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what it was, you know, on those car rides too. But, you know, I got to, you know, wrestle Road Dogg, you know, so that was cool, because not only was Road Dogg in that match, but, you know, my two friends that I mentioned earlier that we broke into business together, Cody Kelly and Nick Van Coor, they were in that match too.
Okay.
And we actually, we did the whole, remember when DX parodied The Nation? We
Yes.
went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went out and we parodied DX, and that's actually up on YouTube. It's like a really grainy kind of crappy video,
Okay.
but, you know, I have like a dreadlock wig on, like acting like Road Dogg, and, you know, our buddy Mongo, you know, he was supposed to be Billy Gunn, but he's fat, so he just drew abs like on his big belly and stuff like that. And Cody Kelly has like this really bad blonde wig on, and he's Triple H. So not only did we get to, you know, be in the ring with Road Dogg, but we got to do that cool moment too. So like I said, just, you know, I was very blessed to be put, you know, in these situations, and you know, I don't know if I deserved it or
Of course you
anything
did.
like that, but I don't know. Depends on who you ask, but it's just you know, I was very privileged and honored to be there.
That's called hard work from my perspective, so I don't think it's any luck or privilege. Good job.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good.
That can be true.
Well, okay, let's jump ahead just a tad, and now eventually you won the MWO title. Excuse me.
Yes.
Now when you were wrestling with them, did you was that something that you I don't want to say expected, but
No, it was actually a shock to me because for all intents and purposes, I was the first one to ever wrestle outside of MWO because I was, still doing a lot of indie bookings then too. I was the first person who ever wrestled outside of MWO to actually get the title.
okay.
That's what Jason told me. So I fully expected going in that night that I was gonna put Cody over. That's so I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't even know until I got to the building. And I honestly felt like my first run as the champion. I feel like I let a lot of people down doing that.
What? How so?
Well, I had started becoming complacent in the ring,
This
and
is just
I
this
was
is
just
so
getting,
just in your mind. This
well,
is what's
no. There's validity to this too because like about a year before, I was wrestling in Tennessee. It was actually live on a iPay-per-view for a promotion called UIWA, and I hurt my back like really bad. Like I took a bad bump. Like I was saying earlier, it was like Lee Caslow. It's just one of those things. Any bump can be your last bump.
right.
And I took a really weird bump. I felt like a kind of a tightness in my back, like the whole rest of the night. I was fine.
Okay.
Then the 12-hour ride home from Tennessee to Michigan was the worst, like the absolute worst pain I'd ever felt in my entire life. And when I got home, I literally stayed in bed for about a week. I only got up to go to the bathroom. Like I was,
Okay.
in college at the time, so I completely, just missed all of my college classes and everything like that. And it was literally I had to crawl to the restroom. Like I thought my career was
Wow.
over. And so when I came back from that, because I had to do a lot of therapy for that, I wasn't gone long. I probably came back way sooner than I should have. But when I came back from that, I was really, really apprehensive.
Okay.
And, it might be one of those things like some people may not notice, but I definitely noticed like watching the footage back.
Okay.
I'm just really, really apprehensive in my bumps. I'm really apprehensive in like, certain things that I'm doing. I'm trying not to bump as much, because I couldn't work out, as much as I was. I started putting on the weight.
Okay.
I got up to like, I think 280. I'm usually like, 220, 230.
Okay.
And so that's why I think my first run was not. I didn't live up to my own expectations.
Well, how many times have you won the title?
Twice.
Okay. So
Like my second run, I liked a lot better.
who did you beat on your second run? I'm sure I saw it, but it's not coming to me right now.
Jacob Braun.
Oh, okay. All right. So you liked your second run a lot better then.
Yeah, I like my second run just because I really started finding my stride as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really strange, you do this for like a certain amount of time, and again, like I said, I had started becoming complacent in the ring too, and then it wasn't until like that second run where it's like, hey, I really have to up my game, because it sounds cliche, but it's like you're the main event, you gotta
Right.
up your game, or otherwise why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this doesn't necessarily make like a good wrestler, you know what I mean? Because wrestling is, subjective. You know,
Right.
it depends on what flavor of ice cream you like.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started, you know, doing different things that people wouldn't expect me to
Okay.
do. You know, that's when I started, you know, doing like suicide dives, and that's when I started
Right.
doing like the diamond dust. That's when I started doing, you know, I started pulling out like, you know, some moves where it was like, you know, oh, John Campbell did that. I thought he was like a walking, talking Memphis brawler guy. All he did was punch, kick, and yell. You know, which I still do, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like, you know, one of the things I like to do is I have a move, like it's a counter to like a hip toss that it's like a lucha counter into like an arm drag that I like to do, you know, that you don't see a lot of, you know, 6'4", 230-pound guys doing
Yep.
that kind of stuff. You know
Yeah,
what
I think
mean?
I've seen you do that. I think I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Just little things like that where it's like, you know, you see a guy my size, I'm not like the biggest, but I'm definitely not the smallest. I think I'm one of the biggest on the MWO roster.
Yeah.
But you know, doing stuff like that where it's like, man, you know, that big guy can move, he's athletic.
Fair warning, and you and I have talked about this before, do not ever attempt the dive onto me because I have the counter for it. You and I discussed it, but obviously you don't remember what I told you it was.
Well, what was it? Don't do the what?
The dive. Do not dive on me because I have the counter.
Oh yeah, it's walk away, right?
No, remember I said I'm not that smart. No.
I don't. I brain damage, man. Remember, I get hit in the head for a living.
We'll talk. We'll save it for after the show.
Okay.
Hey, John, I got a question for you. What do you look for? And I don't know, maybe this is skipping ahead, but what do you look for in a champion? You know, like you as a promoter or booker, or even as a talent. I mean, what is it that champion is supposed to do? What you being, you know, if you're booking the card, what do you want your champion to be? What do you want him to do?
Or does that change?
Well, again, there's different flavors of ice cream, but me and what I like is, I think, what a lot of fans like. You know, you have to have that connection with the crowd. You have to have, you know, the people either want to believe in you or they want to see you go down if you're the heel. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, whether they are paying to see you or they're paying to see you get beat, they're still there coming to see you. You have to have that connection. If there's a disconnect there, you know, and the fans just sit on their hands and they're not, you know, they don't care, then there's no point.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you know, IWE, you can watch our shows, you know, our fans are wild from like the beginning to the end. They do not stop making noise. And I think that's because we have, you know, sort of that it factor with all of our talent. You know what I mean? Whether they want to see them win or they want to see them lose, they come there because they want to see them. You know what I mean? Like you watch one of our main events, they're wild from, you know, the beginning bell to the end and even after, you know. Benjamin Brody's our champion, you know, last name's Brody, so Huss. They are literally doing that from the start to the end, you know, and you don't see that a lot in independence, you know, because again, there's a lot of that disconnect there, and it's different. It's different for every you know, territory. You know, what works here in IWE, if we were to take our show down to, like, say, Memphis, you know, maybe it won't work down there because they like different flavored ice cream.
Sure, absolutely.
But as far as like a champion goes, that connection with the crowd, they either want to see you get beat or they want to see you win, but either way they want to see you.
All right, great.
All right, yeah, that kind of leads me to my next question. And when did you start thinking about actually making a real go at the IWE?
Well, Me and he wrestled down at MWO as Stuntman Mike.
Oh, I know. I wanted to give him a shout out because nothing against you. Actually, I don't know if I ever had you on the Doghouse segment, but he was one of my favorite guests to have on the Doghouse segment. I think him and I kind of got it, got what each other were trying to do. Nothing against anybody that's been on there, believe me. But I think he got it right off the bat.
Yeah. He has a great mind for, the wrestling business. He's definitely somebody that I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to. Again, different flavors of ice cream. He's one of those guys, he's not going to go out there and have a Ring of Honor style match, but I guarantee you by the time he goes out there to the time he leaves, you hear that crowd. They are booing the holy, can I say the H word on here? They're booing the holy H out of him.
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, I churched it up anyway.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because you don't know where you're going to be when Jesus comes back. So
now, well, how long did you know Mike Goodman?
I knew him. I actually knew him before, not before, but like right as I was getting into the business. We both worked at Goodwill. And it was funny because I was going to Goodwill all the time because, I'm a poor punk rock kid and, I needed clothes to, cut up and mess up to wear for wrestling shows. Because, when you first start wrestling, you don't understand that, you need actual wrestling gear. And, so you just think like, okay, I'll get a Dare shirt and just cut holes in it. And that's going to be my gear because that's real cool.
Yeah.
He was working there, and we struck up a conversation about wrestling, and then I actually got hired in there right as he was quitting. And so I was like, oh man, you quit Goodwill? I just got hired in there. And he's like, oh, it's a horrible place to work, you'll see. And I only lasted there, I think, for about a year because it was the pits. But so we were just friends based on that. We have a lot of mutual interests in horror movies and music and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was actually working for his dog grooming business because after Goodwill, him and his wife at the time started up a dog grooming business. And so I called him and I'm like, hey, I just got fired / quit from Goodwill. I don't know which one it is. I guess I'll know if I can get unemployment, but are you guys looking to hire? So I started working there, and it just led to like, hey, why don't you come to the wrestling school on Sunday? And and I'll tell you this, they did not want him. For about 4 hours, they beat the holy heck out of him, because he's significantly older.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure on how old he was, but I mean, or how old he was at the time or how old he is now. But he was significantly older, and they, were just, they didn't want him. They were, like, oh, he's in his 40s and he's just starting. We're just going to beat him up so he'll quit, because he has no shot of doing anything anyway.
Right.
And to his credit, he took everything. He came back. He kept coming back. And again, it's different flavors of ice cream. He's not going to, win the Ring of Honor heavyweight title anytime soon. But, as far as what he can do in the ring, what he does in the ring is good. And, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who can work a crowd better as a heel. And, I would say like he's IWE's version of Bobby Heenan, and he really is that good. But anywho, me and him, he was coming with me to different indie shows at the time, and it just so happened that we both got can't really get fired from indies, but we both got quote fired from promotion.
From the
Hey,
indies.
you got fired from Goodwill, so I could see you getting fired from Indies.
There you go. No, they technically said that I quit, but I still say I got fired. But anyway, we got fired from an independent promotion that we the wrestling school was involved with, and so we're sitting around, and it's just one of those things, like you're sitting there and you're just like, oh man, if we had a promotion, we would do it this way. If we had a promotion, we'd do it this way. If we had a promotion, we'd do it this way. And finally he was like, why don't we just start our own?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, because that takes a lot of money, and I don't think I'm that smart. But I never let my lack of brains stop me from doing anything. So the more people who told me I shouldn't, the more it became enticing.
Right.
And so I don't know, maybe people should start telling me I should retire. But but yeah.
So then you'll end up like Terry Funk.
Yeah, I'll just keep coming back. Every match it'll be. I always said that'd be a great gimmick. Every match is his retirement match, and then after the match, he cuts the tear-filled speech like
forever. Right.
Not even that. I think I have one more in me. What do you think? But he just does it every show. Like it'd be tremendous. It'd be horrendous and tremendous.
Exactly.
But so a buddy of mine up in the Upper Peninsula, he ran a promotion that we all worked for. But he fell on hard times and he had to close up shop, and he was selling his ring, but nobody wanted to buy his ring because one, it was kind of on the smaller side, and two, it was all the way up in Marquette.
Okay.
So I'm like, dude, I'll buy it if you can bring it to me. I'm not gonna. I'm not going all the way up there, but if you can, throw it in a trailer, I'll definitely buy it from you.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally took my student loan money that I got from college, because this, again, it's how smart I am. I took my student loan money from college that I needed to live, and I bought a ring. But that's because I joke about it, but that's how much I believed in that we could do something cool. Is like, it's basically you're gambling on yourself.
Right.
And so it's like, it's basically all or nothing, put up or shut up. And, it was a really rocky start at first, because we were running shows at a TV studio.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a TV studio like you guys, like a TV studio that the, figurehead absolutely hated wrestling, didn't understand it. But,
believe me, Brace Beemer and I have dealt with that for years in the different wrestling-related ventures that we've been on. Yeah. So we do understand. Luckily, on TV, understood where we were coming from.
No. Let me tell you about this guy. He, are you guys Aqua Teen Hunger Force fans at all?
I've seen some of it, yes.
Okay, well, if you've only seen some of it, the reference might be lost on you. But there was an episode where there was like leprechauns, and he looked like one of the leprechauns. He was about 5 foot nothing. He had an afro and a beard. He looked like Bob Ross's mini-me. And absolutely hated wrestling, didn't understand wrestling, and he would literally sabotage our shows. Like the day before, he would call us and be like, "Oh, we can't do the show tomorrow. We don't have enough volunteers to run the camera." Wow. "Oh, well, when did you find this out?" "Oh, we found this out like last week, but we're just getting around to letting you know today."
Wow.
Stuff like that. The parking lot is shared with a reception hall for like weddings and stuff like that. And he would be like, "Oh, well, your wrestlers and fans have to park in the street because there's like a wedding going on today and they own the parking lot." And it's funny because years later, I actually ran into the guy who runs that hall, and he's like, "No, we don't own the parking lot. It's a parking lot. Like it's shared. It's yeah." So he would just literally do stuff to like mess with us. And so finally we just had enough, and luckily we found the Artesia Youth Park up in Holton Lake, who's been nothing but awesome to us. And you want to hear something funny too? Like once we started running shows up there, we started handling all of our production in house. I got like the most groveling email from this guy. basically saying like, well,
Yeah.
if you still want to put your show on our station, you can. We'll let you. We would love that.
So he just wanted
And
you to bicycle the tapes there and kind of reap the
reap the
rewards,
benefit,
but
without
not
putting in the work,
actually
yeah.
but not actually have the show take place there.
Yeah. So he was a jerk, and I basically told him what I thought of his mother. No, I was actually very. I know I was very polite. You know me, I'm very polite. Nine out of 10. I'm not polite tonight. Got me in the mood. It must be all the steroids I'm on. But yeah, no. So that's basically long story short, like the evolution of like kind of how we got to where we are. Because without moving to Houghton Lake, I don't think that we would still be in business today. Because we tried everywhere. No one in Mount Pleasant wanted to take a chance on wrestling. Nobody in the Central Michigan area wanted wrestling because, when they think wrestling, they automatically think of the stigma, the unfair stigma, I think, that pro wrestling brings.
Right.
And we're really trying to change that. Up here we do a lot of community oriented events. The events that we do at the youth center, proceeds go to them. We do a lot of Relay for Life. We do a lot of American Cancer Society. We volunteer at the Special Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very good rapport with the the surrounding towns up here now. But back then it was just a struggle. Sight unseen. Oh, these guys want to put up a ring and beat each other up, and they want our building for it.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Or they would like completely like highball us, like, it's going to be like $1,000 to rent the building, but we need like an extra $1,000 for like a deposit.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's a roller rink in like Mount Pleasant, like this little dumpy roller rink that was like literally falling apart, and they completely highballed us because they just didn't want to deal with us. So
now. Now I remember not too long after I think you guys founded the IWE. You got on the Roku. Are you guys still shown on there?
There was and this was a whole nother thing. It was called the Indie Wrestling Channel.
Yeah,
and
I was able to watch it a few times on there.
Yeah, the guy who ran it, I'm not sure where he was from. He was from somewhere like way down south. I want to say like Alabama or Georgia or something like that. And one of the local promotions got in his ear, and they're like, "Hey, you have this platform. Why don't you run this like a territory where like, almost like the NWA with like, the different NWA territories and stuff like that."
Yeah.
And so why don't you have the Indie Wrestling Channel World Heavyweight Champion, which would be me which would be me, by the way, because I'm giving you the idea, speaking as the guy.
Okay.
And make it a requirement that in order to be on the channel, they have to bring me in to their promotion at least one time a year.
Wow.
They have to recognize my title as the World Heavyweight title, and of course I'm not going to drop my World Heavyweight title to their champion.
Well, of course.
Not. Yeah, of course. So basically, nobody wanted anything to do with that, but he went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and now they're not around anymore.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but we're on YouTube. We're on the High Spots Wrestling Network. We're on the Title Match Wrestling Network. We're on Power Slam TV. We are syndicated on different local like access stations.
Yeah.
You guys would probably know what through Teleview Connect.
I don't know. I mean, we're not real familiar with a lot of the ones around the state, to tell you the truth.
Well, we'll tell you it's like basically Well, no, I shouldn't give away insider secrets because then everybody's gonna start doing it. Here, I'll put it in terms that you understand. It's a PEG database where people can pick and choose what shows to syndicate.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool.
Boom. There you go. Only
Right.
if people want to Google what that means and then copy us, go ahead. And then we have a deal with Amazon, but holy crap, they're becoming really difficult to deal with.
Really? What would Amazon want from you guys? I mean, what would kind of be their specifics for you guys to put your show on there?
There can't be any mention of a website where people can go in and buy merch. So so there's that. There can't be anything considered product placement. So like if they cut to the commentators at their desk, there can't be like a bottle of Coca-Cola or anything like that on the table.
Okay.
There can't be a watermark. There can't be any references to they call it a call to action, which basically is like, hey, join us for like our next event, here's
Right.
the address.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's insanely difficult. So hopefully our next episode, because our production guys, I say we have some of the best in the business. I mean, they're really trying to get around that and just really,
Yeah, that'd be tough.
It's very tough. It's very tough. So I mean, basically, it's like it's just living up to like what they need. May not be in the cards at least for a while. We might have to do like going back to ECW. We might have to do what they used to do, where they would have like their edited TV, but then they would sell like fan cams, and we might just have to like start putting fan cam up on there with like no commentary or camera cuts or anything like that.
Okay.
I would hate to do that, but I mean, I guess content is content.
Right. Well,
and content is king.
Exactly. Well, okay. So hopefully, maybe a little bit easier transition for you guys. I just saw that that you guys put out there on the IWE Facebook page that you worked out a deal to sell your merchandise through Collar and Elbow, or are you going to be selling Collar and Elbow merchandise at your shows, or both?
We'll be selling Collar and Elbow merch at our shows. We're not that big yet where they'll sell our stuff.
Okay.
No, we worked out a deal with them to where they're going to send us apparel every month, and we'll actually be able to sell it at our shows for a bit cheaper than they have on the website. And of course, you don't have to worry about shipping or anything like that. So it's really cool. I was one of the first, sponsored athletes,
Right.
And, of course, I caught a lot of flack for that too, because, everybody, just how people talk. But,
Yeah.
I can say this though, for a while there, people were using my promo code pretty good, and I was getting some pretty good paydays from it. So, I mean, I guess the joke's on me, right, guys?
Hey, is Collar and Elbow, is that the Al Snow owned garment business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically like if somebody goes on their website, uses my coupon code, not only do they get a discount, but I get like a kickback from it. And it was kind of Al Snow's way of helping out the guys, but of course, he's making money off of it too, because to be one of their, sponsored athletes, like you kick in a fee, but that means, they send you like, stuff like every so often. So, I got like, 3 free t-shirts and, a bunch of like really cool stuff. They were sending me a lot of stuff for a while. You know what I mean? But you have to, I think I paid like $12 to like do it. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And I'm sure like, big name guys like, like former WWE guys, they didn't have to pay or whatever, but I mean, shoot $12 for like, a bunch of Collar and Elbow stuff, and like, if I sell stuff, they give me money,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this. I've been lurking around behind the scenes of, not your promotion, but
Man, was that you? That was you in the locker room?
yeah,
I
of
called the
course,
Stalker.
yeah. Well, you didn't let me into the hotel room with Tracy Brooks, so I had to do something, But
Tracy's asleep. I posted something earlier where it was like, oh man, this is either going to be like really entertaining, or I'm just going to completely blackball myself like even more, and I'm probably just blackballing myself even more.
no, it's just Pisha. Uh, but now there's been discussion of trying to. Obviously, women's wrestling is very big right now. It's going to be headlining WrestleMania this year for the first time. Is there any plans for the IWE to start up their own women's division in the future?
Well, if you had been lurking as well as you said that you have been, you would have seen that we made that announcement last week that yes, we are working on a women's division. We've been wanting to get a women's division up here for a really long time because, you look into the crowd and, especially our crowd, because our shows, we call it family friendly with an edge. You can bring anybody of all ages to it, but I mean, it's not like specifically for one age group. You know what I mean? So like, people our age would have fun, but, kids are going to have fun too.
Yeah.
And you look out into that crowd and you see a lot of, little kids, you see a lot of little girls.
Right.
They want their heroes too.
Right.
Like they want somebody that they can look up to and somebody that they can believe in. Again, it goes back to that whole, who the people want to see.
Yeah.
And so, we poll our audience, every so often. We have questionnaires that we put on the seats and they, drop them off at the merchandise table.
Okay.
And, just what would you like to see out of IWE, fill in the blank.
Okay.
And we got a really high, a high rating for a women's division. So, it's putting the right puzzle pieces in place and, making sure things work out. But in the coming months, we are definitely going to see that. So there will be women's wrestlers in IWE. Hopefully, if all goes well, it will culminate into having an IWE Women's Championship.
All right, fantastic. Now, something that you posted today too. I don't want to get into. We don't have a whole lot of time to. And I, along with Brace, would probably have some issues with what was said. But John Oliver did his thing, his hit piece on WWE this week, and how they treat their wrestlers and whatever. But you put out on the, and I knew this, but a lot of people might not have known this, that you actually do offer your wrestlers some sort of healthcare package. Is that correct?
Basically it was set up through Aflac. It's not so much health insurance, but it's like accident insurance. So like,
Okay.
if you get hurt in our ring, or even if you get hurt, it covers you like for everywhere. So like if you get hurt at IWE or you get hurt at another show wrestling, or like you're walking down the street and you slip and fall and get hurt there, it can cover any and all accidents.
Oh, okay.
Aflac will put money into your bank account to help cover those costs.
Oh, all right.
What you do with that. Yeah, so it's actually very cool. We offer that to the wrestlers, because we went in as a company, the wrestlers, they pay for their own, but because we went in as a company, they choose to do it, they get like an extremely low discounted rate. I mean, some guys
Right.
are getting like, this accident insurance for like, $20.
Okay.
$20 a month.
Oh, okay.
It's 20, like we just had one of our wrestlers, he tore his he either tore his ACL or his MCL. I'm not sure what it was. But he went to the doctor, and Affleck put like $2,000 into his bank account like the next day.
Nice.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
so because he was covered, and IWE was able to do that to him, or do that for him. We didn't do that to him. We didn't tear his MCL.
Okay.
Maybe I did. Maybe I don't
Right.
like the guy and I kneecapped him. But no, we were able to help him get that coverage that he wouldn't have had otherwise. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, unless you have like a job with benefits, insurance is pretty expensive. So any and all coverage is gonna help. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we were
Totally.
able to so to be able to offer this and get this for our wrestlers, I feel is a pretty big deal. Especially
Yeah, I
because
agree.
billionaire companies like WWE, they don't have anything to offer like that. If somebody goes out there and breaks their neck, they're screwed. It's up to them.
I thought that. I mean, I know that that's what John Oliver. Like I said, I don't really want to get into it. That's what John Oliver said. But WWE has actually, and believe me, I'm not a Vince McMahon fan.
Sure, and I know, I'm sure they help cover the costs and everything like that. But
I mean, it's
if they-
changed. Like when I was watching that John Oliver thing, I was thinking, okay, I could buy this if this was like 15 years ago. But I know that they've taken a lot of strides in changing that. I mean, especially.
But here's the thing, though. If they didn't want to, they wouldn't have to. I think that's the big difference. You know what I mean? Like if they didn't want to, if they were just like, hey,
Well,
you
yeah.
got hurt, so it sucks to be you. You know what I mean? If they didn't want to, they are not obligated in any way, shape, or form, to do that. Where with
Right.
us, at least you have an option. You can take it or leave it, but the option is there.
Okay. Now, what are the big IWE shows coming up? Actually, we have the MWO show from on
Yeah,
TV.
we
They're
do.
returning this Saturday.
Oh.
It'll also be the return of my segment, The Doghouse. But you're going to be here, right?
Of course.
Okay.
I think I've only missed 2 MWO shows in the last let's see, in the last like 8 years.
Okay,
Oh,
you're a
that's
solid,
it? Wow.
you're a solid employee.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually amazing. I mean, really.
Yeah, so to any of you MWO guys listen to this who, again, this will probably get me some heat because I know Jason's listening to this. If there's any of you MWO guys get a hangnail and can't come to the show because you're afraid you're going to drop your title, beat that.
Now, how about
I just got fired.
Now, how about as far as IWE goes? What kind of shows you got coming up for them?
April 13th, we'll be back at the Artesia Youth Park, 1800 South Loxley Road in Houghton Lake, Michigan. As always, the show is free to come to, but we are taking donations at the door, and those donations help benefit the youth center. The deal we have with them is, we take half, and we use that half to pay the wrestlers, and the other half goes to the youth center, so it's mutually beneficial. So come on out. Got a few bucks, drop it at the door. If not, hey, it only costs you a little bit of your time, so come out anyway. The merch definitely helps too, but yeah, it's free to come to. It's a great time. The last like few shows we've had for IWE, it's literally been standing room only. The youth center's working on a grant to get us either more chairs or bleachers because we're definitely packing the place.
Great.
So yeah, that's what we have coming up.
Who are you going to be wrestling this Saturday at the ONTV studio? Showdown Live.
Am I wrestling? It is a triple threat match, I believe. Off the top of my head, I don't remember because my memory is terrible and it's always going a million miles an hour. I want to say it is myself, versus Victor Cross versus Codename Omega, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think.
Okay. Well, that should be if that is the actual match. That'll be fantastic. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. I'll be looking forward to lurking
I
and
hope,
watching that.
well, I hope it's elimination, because what I plan on doing is I plan on sitting in the crowd and talking to Josh Riles, because I heard he is coming.
Really?
So I plan on sitting in the crowd and talking to Josh Riles. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he can make it. I plan on sitting in the crowd and talking to him while those two guys beat each other up. And then as soon as one of those guys gets eliminated, he'll be tired from eliminating the other guy. I'll just go in and hit him with a small package or something like that, or light him on fire.
Exactly.
Can I use fire in the studio?
I'll have to talk to Joe Johnson about that. That sounds like a sound strategy to me. We're running a little bit low on time. Any parting words that you'd like to get out there before we gotta go off the air?
Thank you to everybody who has supported me over the years, has supported MWO, supported IWE, supported MDWA, and all the various independent wrestling promotions out there. Indie wrestling is alive and well. It's just like, it's just like the independent record labels and the major labels. If you don't like what the major labels are force feeding you on the radio, you might have to dig a little bit more, but you'll eventually find something you like out there on the indies. So keep supporting the indies, because we need it. And I really hope that this interview was fun for everyone to listen to.
All right. It was for us, and thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it. And I will see you, or we will all see you, this Saturday at MWO Showdown Live here at ONTV. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
I plan on using a lot of fire, because Butch Blood told me I could. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Now, should we? We probably don't have a whole lot of time left. I was going to try to preview WrestleMania, but we don't have time for that. And who really cares in the long run? Yeah. Brace Beemer, have any parting words?
Yeah, just once again, we mentioned it a couple times. The Michigan Wrestling Organization is going to return to Lake Orion. That's here in Michigan. In case anybody out on the Ethernet is in another country. It's here in Lake Orion, Michigan at the ONTV studios. The cart starts at 6:05, so get here earlier if you're going to visit. And Saturday also, go Michigan State Spartans.
Now, what's that all about again?
It's the NCAA basketball tournament.
Oh, I'm unfamiliar. All right. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Thank you, Creature Feature John Campbell. Thank you, Brace Beemer.
Yeah, nice job, Butch.
And keep checking the Butch Blood Facebook page for the next time we will have a live wrestling tonight. Hopefully we'll see everybody next week. And take care, everyone. See you this Saturday.